What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here. And today, we've got a special one. Let's call this the joint training. This is for not just for people on YouTube. This one is also going to be shared with the people in Sons of Liberty, also people in Spec Ops. And I plan on doing this as often as possible because we're going to need a way out of what we're in. When this is over, when we're not going to stop fighting, we're not going to stop fighting for the regime that we have to get the heck out of here. But I promise you that what we're going to be left with is going to be a absolute shit show. And what we need to have after this, as far as governing ourselves, as far as the way our economy is going to work, as far as what we expect from ourselves and our leaders, is going to have to change, if not the entire society. It will be forced to change. And I want to make sure that we're ready for what happens after that. And so all of the lessons that we're going to be doing with this beautiful, young, experienced, what else are you going to call it? Intelligent, Native American governance expert, Melinda Grisby, who we know as Brown Girl Pride on Instagram. I am going to be making sure that we do as many of these as possible, as we have to do, so that we can help to develop some sort of governance that will help bring us to the next phase of wherever we're going without falling back into the traps of how we got to this place in the first place. Now, I hope that all of that makes sense. And if not, I can't help you out any more than that. Hopefully, Brown Girl Pride can. Meet Melinda Grisby. Am I pronouncing it right? Did I get it right? I don't see your thing anymore. Okay. I'm chilling. I'm here. I'm happy to have you. And I've been, watching your stuff. I believe you've already been on this channel once before. People may have seen your more funny things that I had to show. And there was some other stuff. You had some book recommendations in there too, which I'm gonna need from you. I plan on starting a whole book club on this channel where we're reading as much as possible and sharing as much as possible. But yeah, I've been watching you, and you're nonstop. You're nonstop with it, man. What's going on?
Just trying to give people other options to live life. And as I talked about before with you, is getting people to understand their own indigenous roots, where they come from, and how there is a lot of universal principles and philosophies that are followed throughout indigenous cultures globally. So this isn't just Native Americans here in the United States. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean that all the systems were exactly the same, that held the same foundation. They just applied the how they built their systems differently based on that foundation.
Got
Um,
you.
and so you'll find the differences in cultures and how natural law works depending on the regions and where they're from and the ecosystems that they are there to steward. So, but the basic foundations are all the same. Relationships, land based, it's built on land based relationships and reciprocity, holding accountability to the land and to the people, and being responsible for that, removing power as something that's seen through the eyes of a title or a position, but more as, like I said, as a responsibility to the people and the land itself.
Outstanding. Outstanding. All of that is going to be covered and more, people, but I want to make sure that we're breaking this down into actionable, bite size, all right, handheld finger size, non-GMO KFC style joints, okay? So we're going to call this lesson one. Lesson one is really about understanding the gift economy, sharing networks, the alternate meanings of gift, and I have kind of a short little thing here that I think may help people know what they want to get from a lesson like this. And hopefully I'll be asking the right questions as you're teaching, my friend. But right here, I have written down to make sure that I'm not failing: cooperation, relationship building, leadership by examples when starting this, when talking about how to implement these systems, developing a haves and the needs neighborhood directory. How necessary is that? How to go about doing that, and understanding that, what gift means beyond the consumable physical product and material goods. So hopefully I'll be asking questions poignant to those, or germane to those topics or those ideas. But I will let you start as far as understanding the gift economy, sharing network. Okay, so before we get started, you need to know that we cut this down just to make sure it's digestible for everybody. This is part one. Part two will be out next week. But if you're a member of Patreon, or you join the channel, or if you're in special operations, if you made it that far, then you're going to get this now. The full thing, full hour. This one is cut down. Part two will be next week. Nobody's missing anything. You go. I'm here to listen. You tell me, how are we to understand this and implement it, and what's part one?
You can think of it as somewhat sort of like mutual aid. These are reciprocal economies. Basically, the entire community is coming in to take care of the needs of the people, and therefore the people take care of your needs. So this goes beyond just monetary value or material goods that you can give. This comes through the way of, wisdom, knowledge, skill sets, things like that. So I like to kind of like, as simplest as you could put it, basically you're doing work with at what you're doing work for your community without getting paid, but you're also don't have any bills. You know what I mean? So you're literally just working to help the community. You're not working to pay bills. You're not working to pay a mortgage. You're not working to pay for food. You're not working to pay for water. All of these things are provided through the community together.
Mm,
So if you have a home that needs electrical work and the electrician in the community comes in and they help you out, and then maybe somebody else is sick and you've got the nurse and the doctors that are around and they come and they see the people who are sick. So everybody is just kind of working together and basically function in like you would a regular community, doing the jobs that you need to do to help everybody out, but literally removing the money from that and everybody holding a responsibility to that. And this allows people to do the things that they want to do versus being forced into jobs that they don't want to do because they need money, or having to work three or four jobs, and because they're not making enough money, or so forth and so on. So yeah, it seems a lot of people think it's utopic, but in reality, these are systems that worked for thousands and thousands of years before the concept of money ever started. It does get kind of hard to understand it sometimes, just because of the fact that we've been so used to living under capitalism, and it does make it hard to reimagine. But essentially, it's just reciprocal. You're not, going in and um it's the best way to put it. So I may not necessarily get back in return what I'm giving out to that person directly. It may come in another form from somebody else within the community. So, and it may not be a one for one trade. For example, if I need eggs and I go to my neighbor and they have more eggs than they need, and they say, "Yeah, I got extra, here you go." And then maybe a few weeks later, they come to me and ask me for a couple cups of milk, right? That's a very basic concept and idea of what that would look like. Now apply that on a larger scale in a neighborhood or a community. Somebody, the teachers are out there helping students learn. You've got people going out there and performing security. Everybody is just doing their part to make the community function together, and everybody's needs are met by each other.
okay. So let's take this to the the neighborhood. Well, first, when you say that, there is a an immediate hesitation to saying, well, that idea that, well, I may not have to pay bills is tough because as of right now, in every neighborhood, somebody's going to have to pay the bills. Is there has to be an intermediate, isn't there? Like, before we get to the place the where we can say that every single thing is taken care of, what are there some steps that we can take to get to that place to where we know, okay, now we're at a place where, and we're talking just small groups, we're not talking big yet. This is all, every lesson here is going to be for small groups, neighborhoods and under, right? So neighborhood of 200 people or less, or 200 homes or less, not people, right? I'm guessing is around your normal cul-de-sac neighborhood or your apartment building neighborhood. How do you explain that? What are the steps to get to where it is that place where there's no, the bills are less important to take care of, or the bills are already taken care of? What does that mean?
The first thing is people have to actually get into their communities and know who's in their communities. You have to build relationships with the people
Mm-hmm.
in your communities, build rapport and trust, create events that brings out the community to come and get to know each other, so you can do many mutual aids. It's an idea. For example, in the next couple of months, I'm going to be doing this in my mom's neighborhood. This is the neighborhood I grew up. That's my community, not the community I currently live in, but the currently that's 20 minutes away in my mom's area, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I plan on doing a twice a month, where everybody comes to the park that's in our neighborhood, and they can either sign up, put their names on lists, on donate a couple of hours of maybe tutoring or nursing care, or they are really good at making blankets, and they or they're have gardens in their backyards that they can give food. So everybody brings what they are able to give, and you come and you take what you need, and just bringing the neighborhood together and
Wow.
having people get to know each other, and build trust and rapport that way. So when shit does hit the fan, because it's going to, you already have a community that you trust and that you can do things for and with, and you already have that reliance on each other, that you guys are going to be taken care of when bank shut down, or when
Mm-hmm.
all those types of things happen. So the it's just literally getting out there, socializing with your neighbors, getting to know who they are. And again, your community can be anywhere. It may not be the exact community you live in. There are some people who live in the middle of a bunch of MAGA folks, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm not
True.
asking those people to go jump in with the MAGA folks and rebuild a community.
Mm.
But if you have a community that you're safe in, start rebuilding with them. Whatever community you feel safe in, to do that. But you have to get to know each other. You have to get to know people. And if it is the community that you're living in and you want to do that within the community you live in, you have to get to know who your neighbors are. You have to socialize with people. You have to build trust and rapport. And that will also tell you who's not trustworthy, who you don't want to be around, and who you may not be able to trade with, or um, have that reciprocal relationship with too. So it'll kind of actually open your eyes to what you're actually living around and who you're living around.
That's a very, very good point. I'm going to have a question about that. I actually have somebody here, leadership team in one of our leadership team in special operations has a question. Thank you. You know who you are. A question about communication here in what we're talking about. What's the best way to explain mutual aid versus gift economy, or even both, explain both of them to a group or with strangers who have no idea what you're talking about and are already skeptical?
So gift economies or reciprocal economies, are more long-term relationship based. They're built for sustainability, whereas mutual aid is something that's in the short-term emergency situations. One could argue that we're in a constant emergency situation, so we need constant mutual aid right now, which is basically where we're at as transitions begin to happen, right? But yeah, so yeah, the difference is one is more emergency centered, one is like more quick. You're able to get what you have out to people who need it immediately, whereas reciprocal is within the community itself. Everybody on the community is relying on each other to help provide the needs of the entire community to each other. So if your needs are met, the rest of your community's needs are met. So everybody is having access to the same things that they would normally have access to. It's just you're removing the money out of the whole entire system. So, like I said, it then encourages people to do things that they actually want to do, things that they're not stuck having to do because they need money. And everybody has their whatever they're able to give back to the community will be given back to them depending on what their needs are. So, yeah, it works in that way.
Okay. We have another question, and all of these. Thank you so much to our leadership in special operations. Thank you so much for asking these questions. All of you are knocking it out of the park. So we have, how efficient is it in general compared to regular currency-based economy? Does it develop its own currency? If not, are transactions tracked? If so, how?
That's where you remove the transactions out of your mindset. This is not a transactional society. Um, that's why we have money now because they've turned reciprocal economies into transactional economies. So that is where the decolonization part comes in. That is where that changing the world view, changing how you imagine your society, your community in being. So you're not tracking transactions. You're not making transactions. Like I said, if I, as a nurse, right,
Mm-hmm.
I would go out into my community and see who's needing any kind of medical care, and I'd provide that medical care. In the meantime, if I need food, I just go to my local farmer market and they'll just give me food because they know that at some point, if they need nursing care, I will come and
You're
give them
gonna need
nursing care.
right, right.
Right. Teachers, my if my kid's older now, but if I had a little kid and they were still in school, then I would be able to take my kids to school and the teachers would teach them. Nobody's exchanging money. You're doing everything that you would normally do for your community, but without the pressure of having to owe anybody in return. Because since this is long-term relationships, that eventually whatever you're giving back will eventually come back to you in some form or another,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whatever that may be, it's your community is coming to you to take care of you, just as you're going to your community to take care of them, right? And if you are able to only contribute physically certain things, that's okay because there's other things that people can contribute outside of anything that is physical.
Okay. Next question. This type of economy is not transactional, but just for the interim, there is the blockchain idea. What's your thoughts on using blockchain to, I guess, be a part of a transactional economy that doesn't where you can provide mutual aid or help or get things until we get to where we need to be, but not be tracked as easily or have to give in to the government.
Yeah, I mean, even the organization I'm with, this is our where we're trying to figure out how we generate money in the meantime as we rebuild relationships within our chapters and their communities. For example, um, until I could build relationships with local farmers and say, hey, I know you still have food to sell and you live in Cap. capitalism still. I'm not going to take away from that. But I also know there's a whole lot of food that goes to waste because of how it looks, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So are you willing to give that? Building that relation to give that. If you give that, then I can then take that and do food distribution with that, right? So it's free. And then in the meantime, hey, my volunteers can come help. We understand that you might need some help here, or maybe you need help running your farmer's market. We can do those things for you. Just building something that where you can do like a trade and barter system initially will help. But whatever people need to do as far as actual money in the interim, as things are happening now, uh, do what you can. Look at all the loopholes that you can find when it comes to how you have a financial sponsor, or if you create your organization through 501c3 or whatever you do, like all the different, I mean, use the system to play itself. Yeah, as they do, they use the system to play us, so use a
Mm.
system to play them. Find financial sponsors that are willing to do those things, to help donate and things like that. So whatever is, if it's a blockchain, then it's a blockchain. Just whatever it is that you guys need to do, or what anybody needs to do, get creative with it. And every community is going to have their own, unique needs in that way as well. I know sometimes I give a lot of generalizations, but at the general answers, but at the same time, every community has their own specific needs. Every organization is doing their own specific thing. Not all organizations are um, doing, some organizations are just doing defense. Other organizations are doing food distros. Other organizations are working to provide safe housing for women who have been abused. So there's so many different organizations kind of doing their own things, that you're going to have to do what's best for your organization. But deal with that, work with that within your group altogether, have the discussions together as your community or as your organization, and do it in a way where everybody has a voice and you guys are adjusting towards your goal instead of people compromising away from the goal.
I am not going to say anything after that. The time to fight is now, YouTube. Thank you so much, Melinda.
Thank you.
Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works.